I saw a video on your YouTube channel the other day where you were talking about why you won't do alternative radio anymore and how it's kind of a cesspool just like mainstream media.
Okay, yep, I remember that one.
So walk me
Yeah.
through that.
Well, no, why I'm not in radio anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. Where where do you want me to start?
Well, okay, this is just me. I'll summate mine. I got into alternative radio for less than 2 months, and when I got into it behind the scenes, I saw the most ridiculous infighting. I saw an amazing clout of ego being thrown around by different people who think that they're bigger than what they really are, or that their opinions are somehow authoritative over other opinions, when really, you know what I mean? In this day and age, anybody can get behind a mic and in front of a camera and say anything they want to say. You know,
Yes.
so and I've addressed this previously, that in today's society we're running a risk of trusting anything we see in a screen or hear over the air as an authority. We're allowing that to sway important
Yes.
life-making decisions.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I saw that very quickly, and I also saw that even these quote-unquote alternative networks that say, "Oh, you can say anything you want to say." That's not true either. You can't say anything you want to say, because you'll find out that you get kicked off of quote unquote the air in less than 3 months.
Oh, wow. Have you been kicked off the air somewhere?
Oh, I've been banned from quote unquote alternative networks. I've been my show's been dropped, things like that.
Oh, really? Can you tell me like who or where, or because that could give me some insight as to what's going on, and to better answer your question. I saw a lot in 10 years in alternative media.
Right. Let's see.
I kind of learned who, you know what I mean? And I actually was on the road and meeting people in person. So all of my experience, I just want to say, is 100% firsthand. I don't say, hey, I read some blog, so I know that this person is blah, blah, blah. No, anything I say is spoken from my direct experience.
Right. Let's see. For me, I mean, well, you know Chuck Ocelli, right, from the Ocelli Effect? Okay, he's a great guy. He's in it for the right reasons, because it certainly ain't the money.
Yeah.
The people who are, I mean, and we all know that this kind of started with Alex Jones, but and there are a lot of people who are jumping on the diving board of Alex Jones, but I'm just of the opinion, look, I already know about chemtrails, I know about 9/11, I know about all the stuff that can make me fear waking up in the fucking morning. I already know that shit.
Exactly.
And so why do I want to go from Infowars.com, hypothetically, to another, quote, alternative network that's just repeating the same thing on Infowars, just diluted?
Exactly, with a couple different words.
Yeah, and it's
as if it's theirs, and like somebody actually went out as a journalist and investigated. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, and now don't get me wrong. There was a point in my life where I did have my head in the sand and say Alex Jones was necessary.
Definitely. Okay? Me too.
Like you go, oh my God, well, it wasn't 9/11 with him. Michael Moore actually got me with that way before. But Alex Jones got me with, FEMA camps and stuff, because I live in Georgia. And when he was talking about the coffins, I was like, holy shit, I've driven past that and seen it with my own eyes. So Alex Jones had to scare me and a lot of other people, right?
Definitely.
And so it's needed, and I've evolved past Alex Jones to where I'm not so afraid of things anymore, and I realize that it's all consciousness to an extent, to a great extent. Who am I fucking around with? It's consciousness, right? So it's like Churchill said, or whatever, channeled, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. So I want to move on. What else is out there in experience besides the government is, a bunch of shit bags and they're poisoning the water and the food and everything else. I want to move past that, and
Thank you.
you know what I mean? And so
That's
I'm looking around.
Yeah,
I'm
that's exactly my path too. And in fact, my first few radio shows were all of that. Did all the political crap, did all the secret society crap, did everything. Fabians, perestroika. I mean, shit people never even heard about. Third call, all of it. And then I got to a point. It's like, okay, well, we already know this, so let's move on. What? So Soul Journeys Radio, when I started that, was supposed to be, okay, now we already know. Let's move forward. What can we do about it? So that's when I started focusing, teaching practical things because my goal was I wanted people to be able to take something with them every single show that they could use to improve their lives right then and there without spending a penny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did, and that's when I got my ass kicked. You're not allowed to do that. You got to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah. See.
Yeah.
And after I became a published author, which that was my dream, my whole life. Get a book with my name on the cover, right?
All right.
And it be a real good book, not just to have, And so I did that, and then I was like, well, shit, I didn't really plan past this for life. I really don't know what to do now because I've achieved, what do you do when you've achieved your dream? So I was in the Ron Paul movement, the Liberty movement, around that time. And I was also exploring my spirituality from fundamentalist Baptist into areas of Buddhism and Hinduism and Gnosticism, Islam, and starting to see the interconnectivity of those things. Now, I was still operating in the Republican Party for Ron Paul. Right?
Well, yeah. I did the exact same thing as you, and then I went against everything, and signed up, again to vote Republican, so I could, spend all my time and dollars with our great last hope, right? Or last hope, whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah, I did that too.
And so, while that was going on in my life, can you hear me okay? Because I moved the mic away for just a second.
Totally.
All right,
yeah.
I'm rolling a joint, so you got to
Nice.
bear with me. So what I started to really, really notice as I was expanding my spirituality was that the Republican meetings, and I'm in the South, I don't know about the rest of the country. Like you said, I can only talk about firsthand experience, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say what I saw. And it's that when you got to the Republican meetings on Sunday, everybody's talking about, well, which candidate supports Israel?
Yeah, it's the same everywhere, dude.
Okay.
And I've literally been everywhere in this country, except for Alaska.
Right. So I go, okay, well, I get this because I actually used to be, now I'm an ordained minister now, but I used to be a Baptist Sunday school teacher who was all into, Zionism and the prophecies about Israel. So I understood all this 100%, okay? I know the logic, I know the thinking, I know that it's rooted in the King James Bible, okay? I knew this. And I knew that entire interpretation of the nation of Israel that they were getting was bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolute and total bullshit. But, so you show up on Sundays and you got the preacher, or Sundays, pounding the pulpit saying, those who bless Abraham will be blessed and those who curse will be cursed, and anybody who says a bad thing about Israel, God's going to put you in hell.
Yeah.
And then those same guys in the churches would go to the Republican meetings and make decisions about who's going to represent us based off of what they heard from the pulpit.
Yeah, because some other country by genociding people who have been there for thousands of years is going to help us here in America. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and we could get into all that, but that's what I saw, okay? And so I said to myself, and, I was meditating at the time, and I said, there's a disconnect between the political realms and the spiritual realms, a real big disconnect. And if we could because typically people in my spiritual circles are not political, and then people in my political circles are religious, but they're not spiritual, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, there's got to be a way to bring them together, and there you get ZenInTheCar.com, okay? And what that was to bring together people of different faiths and then initiate them into the political system to show that we could work together, right?
Man, I tried that one too. Got my ass kicked by every side.
Yes.
So instead of just one side hating me, it was every single side, because you're not allowed to get along and come together. You have to keep fighting to be allowed to this. Yeah.
But, I had to serve time in that. You know what I mean? And,
we did the exact same path.
Yeah, so, see, okay then. No such thing as coincidences. But, I started, exploring more alternative media and getting away from InfoWars and stuff like that. And I came across a network that Chuck Coachelli originally was on, right?
Which one is that?
UCY.TV.
Oh, never heard of it. Okay.
Goody. So I was his guest a few times, and it was very obvious. I don't go by titles, but if you had to put me in a ballpark, you'd say I'm a Gnostic, okay? I follow the path of gnosis, first-hand knowledge, first-hand experience. I do what Romans 14 says. I create my own religion, okay?
Sounds pretty practical to me.
Right, That way I can't start a war with nobody. Nobody can start a war with me, right? So,
except me.
Yeah, right. So,
right, we can only start our own wars with ourselves, but
right. We're like Switzerland's, but spiritual Switzerland.
That's great.
So, it was obvious what my message was, which is, hey, I understand all the negative, bad things that are going on in the world, but I'm an optimist and I believe in the human spirit and I believe in divine intervention. And in the end, we're going to be okay, Yeah. And I've had people say I'm pissing up a rope. I've had people say, oh, your head's in the clouds. Keep on wishing. Okay, well, you know what? I'm content to live my life that way.
Well, those are people that believe in and fear death.
Sure, right.
Once you... Because that's how we are so controlled, and that's why we stay in those paradigms. And I think there's actually a heck of a lot more to it. But, I think that's what it all boils down to. And I think people who have experienced a little bit more and realize that death is really just a birth and this is all, man-made control. It's actually, I'll use the term loosely, but it's a spiritual battle going on. And I don't mean like as in fight. I just believe that there are unseen forces that influence people, and we have to take it within, not without. We can't change anyone around us except by being ourselves, discovering our innate abilities, talents, and living that message that we want to portray. And then sometimes people are, wow, that's a cool seed. I think I want to do that. But the whole proselytizing and trying to help or fix other people doesn't work. We have to fix ourselves first.
Right. And see, all right, you use a hashtag all the time, and I know we're switching topics, but that's cool. Your hashtag is Aphrodite died here, right?
Well, it's Fro died here. Fro is short for Aphrodite, yes.
All right, now, because I already know where you're coming from when you use terminology like that, and I've heard your YouTube videos about your death experience. Wink, wink, nod, nod, So, as somebody who has also had a quote-unquote death experience, wink, wink, nod, nod, relay yours to me, because from my understanding, you got some sort of a West Nile virus that fucked your brain all up.
Allegedly, yeah. I mean, truth be told, I have always been, most of my life was battling some type of illness. And when I healed myself the first time from doctor said I had 6 months to live, you'll never walk again, never have children, popped out a kid, all of that stuff. And then I got out of I was paralyzed from the waist down, got out of a wheelchair, had a bunch of strokes. Then I thought I was healed, So I started teaching everyone else how to heal and how easy it was. And I was like the picture of health and thought I knew everything. Yeah. And I think if I was a writer, a good name of a book would be The Mosquito and the Ego. So I end up in Florida. I had just wanted to take a 30-day break from I wanted to take my own soul journey from Soul Journeys Radio. And little did I know, well, it was hilarious if I probably shouldn't have gone, because from the first second I went to give my neighbors some money, thank them for watching the house. The car is running, all packed, ready to go. It's raining. I slip down the clay, rocky, clay and rocks, slide all the way under my car, break my left arm. Oh, I still keep going. Then ice storm comes in so bad that I'm literally watching the drops freeze. And of course, my windshield wipers break. It's a Sunday night, small town Oklahoma, nowhere to go replace them. So I have to make it to my destination, pull over every mile to frickin' scrape my windows. Oh man, every single plan I had, somebody died or unexpectedly had to leave town. Like, every single thing. Anyways, that journey turned into 4 months. Everything I planned went wrong. The last video I made was called Stepping Outside of Your Comfort Zone. 20 minutes after I did a direct upload, my entire account was deleted. My Facebook with 30,000 photos, 8 years, was deleted. Everything, poof, gone. Then I go to the Everglades, get bit head to toe from mosquitoes and who knows what else. And then I start breaking out in these rashes, and, I'm living on the road and camping and having my survival adventure. Like, honestly, when I went on that adventure, I planned to struggle. I wanted to learn I'm already a master gardener. I know a lot about weeds, medicine, oils, herbs. So I wanted to really put it to the test in extreme conditions. And would I kill an animal if I had to, or would I eat lichen? So there I was in the Gulf. And if you remember the ice storms where we're shut down in Destin and Panama, Alabama, Mississippi, that was the January, February 2014. So there I was with my sandals and silk wraps and picked up some other chicken and dog, and it really turned into a survival journey. And so that's where I learned to fish and clean fish and fry lichen, make little popcorn and dig out the hearts of palm. Oh, that was a long time ago.
So let me ask you this. All this journey that happened to you happened after a physical trauma that left you paralyzed and whatnot?
Well, yeah, but I healed from that already in 2008. Mm-hmm. I left on my journey in December 2013, and I got sick in February 2014 while I was on this journey where I was, it was my soul journey. And I wanted to find a way that I could continue to do what I'm doing, teaching, helping, healing, etc., but without being in the public eye so much, and the whole stalker issues and all of that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, every single thing I planned fell through. And then so instead of, I could have gone back home anytime, but I really wanted to learn to feed myself. I know about herbs and gardening and foraging and all of that, but I wanted to step it up a notch and see what my spirit was really about. So instead of going home or going to my bank account, I decided that anything I would make, any money I would make, I would have to work for. And I purposefully, when I left on that 30-day journey, only took enough food and cash I would need for gas and for that 30 days. Well, it was 4 months into it. And then I found these beautiful springs. And just out of the blue, after kayaking to the Gulf, the manager said, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I'm like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, "Well, the reason I ask is you seem to have some skills we would like to implement here, and people seem to like you here. Would you consider, living, working here?" And I'm like, let me think about that. So we talked about it, and they said I would be teaching classes in the community center, building the gardens there, and doing the food and selling my medicine and stuff in the store. So I'm like, perfect. went back to Branson 4 months later, got rid of my house, got rid of every single thing, bought an RV, lived and worked in that state park. About a month later, the classes were done. 2 months later, when my food was kicking ass, they took that away because, whatever. And then the West Nile virus, it was a couple months later, so it was really starting to settle in, and the rashes and head issues, bleeding from the brain. But I'm not a fan of doctors and drugs, so I kept thinking that I could fight it myself. Now, I'm mentioning this to you because it's true, but there were also other influences I was fighting against, and some of them were malicious, I'll say that. So yes, I had the West Nile virus. Yes, I got bit in the neck by a brown recluse. All that is true, but I also got poisoned. So anyways, it got to the point where I could not speak. I couldn't feed myself, like literally, but I was still resistant. People were picking me up off the ground. I couldn't walk. But I was scared to death to go to the doctor, and because I knew all they were going to do was drug me up or whatever. And then, so I remember I was sitting outside one day, and Diane came by to check on me because the older people would come by and pick some food from my garden for me, make me a salad, make sure I got my fresh juice, and respect my wishes about not being forced to go to doctors. And I asked her how Suzanne was, and she looked at me like there was something wrong with me. And what do you mean? I'm like, well, I haven't seen her in a few weeks. She went to go visit her kids was the last I heard. She's like, Christy, she was just in your house in your RV this morning making you juice. Oh, shit. And then, so I realized at that point my memory was gone, and I just figured I could hole up in my RV and die in peace. But no, that's not allowed. Not allowed to die in peace. You have to have extreme pain, 0 sleep for 4 months, and then somebody force you into hospital. So there I was for 10 days, a bunch of strokes, and I don't even really know everything that happened. But I never really got answers. I had no insurance, no money, no anything. Nobody would even help me fill out the stupid forms. They knew I couldn't write. They knew I couldn't speak. They knew I couldn't, I could not get help for whatever reason. And so I actually, kind of crazy, I met somebody while inside the hospital that came to rescue me and took me to their property so I could rest. I had 8 strokes in that period from February to, June of 2015. And then I decided that if I was going to live, I had a bunch of dreams and things happened during those strokes and loss of consciousness and stuff, but I decided that if I was going to live, I had to be where my heart always wanted to be, number 1, cooler weather, number 2, 3, no bugs. I can't take the heat. It hit ever since my brain stuff. If it hits like 75 or 80, I am totally worthless. So I sold what I had left, including the RV, and then made the trek up here to Washington. And I forgot the question. I'm just like telling the whole
no worries.
Story after injury, but I ended up back in the so I made it to Washington last summer, and there were some other issues. In the winter it got too cold, so I went back south again, and then my legs stopped working again. I wasn't able to communicate again. I had blood shooting out of my brain again. And so I got out of the hospital February, I think it was 29th. That was this year, 2016. And then taught myself again to walk and talk on the streets with 0 income, trying to find where the place that was in the back of my mind that I was supposed to be. And I guess I'm here now.
Well, whenever you were talking about healing yourself, In what manner do you mean? Like homeopathy with homeopathy, or
Healing I've found, and I am a certified health coach. I have a PhD in metaphysics, blah, blah, blah. All of that is irregardless.
Mhm.
If you talk to me 3 years ago, I would tell you, yeah, I would tell you the same thing, that it's all-encompassing. It's not just physical. It's not just mental, spiritual, emotional. It's all of that, yes, but I have discovered even more. So my methods of healing are, I don't even want to use the word extreme. They're just different.
Mhm.
And not extreme at all. They are very subtle and gentle, but they take work that only the person can do for themselves.
Mhm.
And this is not to say that I have the ability to help it. I don't know if you know Ricky with gangrene and energy healing and all of that other crap I do and have done and am capable of. True healing is not where I allow a force to come through me to help you. It is where I teach you to be able to do it yourself, so you never ever have to come back to me or pay anybody for anything again.
Right.
So yes, I use oils. Yes, I use herbs. Yes, I use food. Yes, I use therapies. Whether it is talking. I mean, it has a lot to do with emotional breakthroughs. One of the number one things I'm focusing on right now, which I have a ton of evidence to prove with witnesses, is learning to say no.
Mhm.
Is like the number one easiest, quickest way to heal.
Right.
And this is a fact. This is way before food. This is way before mind over matter.
Right.
This is way before essential oils or drugs or anything.
Mhm.
It is learning to say no, when, not saying yes when you mean no, and getting out of toxic environments and stopping blaming yourself with all this new age crap programming we've been fed.
It's funny you say that, because I've been on a Mark Passio kick for the past few days.
Uh-huh.
And one of the most recent talks that he did, I think at Free Your Mind 4 or whatever it was, he said, the hidden word or the lost word is no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he does great work, especially like on the Matrix and symbolism within the Matrix. But it reminds me of Neo in the hallway, to negative thought processes. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to say you should ignore negative thought processes, but overwhelming you. My mom's a 2-time survivor of cancer. And the second time, it was just because she said no. I'm not doing radiation. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to die. And that was over a decade ago,
Yeah.
And we had the mental going on, we had the psychological, the spiritual, and we administered vitamin B17, apricot kernels. They had given her 6 months to live with stage 4 cancer. Well, it's almost 12, 13 years later, and she's not in remission. The cancer was gone. It's gone, and has been gone. So, I've had personal firsthand experiences with homeopathy and, just the mind itself being able to heal the body. I've had firsthand experiences of that.
Yeah.
You have too. You really can't meet anybody on the street that in one way or another has experienced it and may attribute it to prayer or a miracle or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But everybody has had some experience with it, and then it makes you wonder why, like if you go to a bank or to a grocery store, they ask you if you want to make a donation to look for the cure for cancer.
Yeah, like, no thank you, I've already cured it.
Yeah, or diabetes or something like that, and you're like, wait a second, it's just raw food for diabetes. This knowledge exists out there. So, I too have a very strong aversion to quote unquote modern medicine, and the whole hospital system is just a little too Pink Floyd's The Wall for me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seems too much like an assembly line, So I got you there. But getting to
It's
kind
a
of.
total overhaul, though. It's self-responsibility. Healing is self-responsibility, and that includes. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a story, not just true within myself, but many other people that I work with. And I don't want to. I'm speaking about adults here. What about the children or this or that? That's totally different. I'm speaking about adults here and the dis-ease that we suffer and how and okay, this is not to blame anyone. Been there, done that, and I understand, and I'm not blaming myself or anyone else who's suffering anything because these pains, these issues are here to teach us if we listen, okay? What you resist persists. So we're taught, oh, I have this pain, let's go take this little drug and make it go away and everything's going to be all right, right? Well, no, it's not. Because best case scenario, you're suppressing a symptom. And I'm not talking about just mainstream drugs where you're suppressing a symptom and causing 15 other problems, even herbs. People can get addicted to herbs and use that as well, I don't want to eat right, I'll just take this little herb when I have this issue. And that is not healing either, okay? That's putting on a Band-Aid. So, when it comes to your food, you have to, like Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. But the steps you have to take to change your life, and I'm not talking about the mamby-pamby, positive thinking, nothing bad is happening, it's all love and light. I am not talking that at all because that is 100% complete denial, which will get you nowhere but suicidal. When we are in situations, I'll use an example. I am in a marriage and I am really feeling sucked dry, but I have children. And I'm on the board of the PTA. I'm also on the board of the Homeowners Association. My husband, he never ever speaks to me. He's always away working. And, frankly, I'm just tired of picking up after his ass. I'm tired of showing up all these meetings and not being appreciated. I have no time for myself, no time for my children. So all of a sudden, I'm going to be diagnosed with some autoimmune issue, for example, like fibromyalgia or Hashimoto's or MS or lupus or these things that debilitate us so that our body says no because we are too chicken shit to use our voice and say no. Now, some of us, we will end up bedridden and we will realize what contributed to that and hopefully find ways to heal if that is what we want. For other people, well, now they get a disability check and they want to keep that. Or now all of a sudden they have people taking care of them and, they kind of like that. They want to be dependent now. They want a break or they want people to, they feed off of people feeling sorry for them. And again, I'm not denigrating anyone or saying this is always true. I'm just saying we hold on to things that benefit us. And this is a fact. And as a holistic health coach and being able to talk to literally thousands of people, I have learned there are people who do not want to heal because of whatever benefit they are getting from their illness.
Right.
So that is something that definitely needs to be examined. But for those of us who do want to heal, our actions have to match our words, which have to match our soul path, our heart's desires, period. Anytime we stray outside of that, we will get an indicator. Like, for example, I'll use myself again. 12 days in a row, Daniel, I got cut, burned, fell, bruised, literally head to toe, whether from ice or falling under the dog shed in between the deck or, literally bruised from head to toe. I can tell you exactly why. And I knew, but I still felt, well, they need me here, so I'm going to show up anyways, or, well, I said yes when I really meant no.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid for it. And all of those things are warning. And if I look at where those injuries are on my body, they're no accident.
Right. So I got to ask you this now. Before all your entire journey from, taking your soul journey to now, have you been familiar or have you heard of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey?
I have heard of Joseph Campbell, but I haven't obviously been able to read or be online much, being homeless.
No worries.
The last few years.
All right. And I got to ask you this to kind of gauge where I can, if I could talk about reptilian shapeshifters and stuff.
Absolutely.
You have to gauge who you're talking to, see what level they're at, So were you into the esoteric at all, or the occult or spiritual, whatever you want to call it?
I was born into it.
I want to hear about that. What were you born into, if you don't mind?
So my grandmother, Aphrodite Christina, who I'm named after, I'm Christie, though, no N. She's from Greece, and her mother and my mother are, I'll just say this, arranged marriages. And extremely gifted. And the arranged marriages were all military related, and I was sold off into a project at a very, very young age because of my talents. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very familiar with the gypsy side of things and the military black magic, all of it.
Yeah,
I literally lived it.
Okay, so you weren't born into any type of Orthodox Christianity or mainstream religion?
Well, that's actually yes and no. Okay, so my mother, we went to church because it looked good, right? But she didn't actually practice anything. And my dad was off killing people, black ops, Secret Service, stuff like that. So I never really knew him. My grandmother, on the other hand, was more Greek. She had to, she went to a Greek Orthodox church on Christmas and Easter just to hang out with other Greeks, pretty much. So although my mom was not a church goer, I was bombarded heavily with all of the same Bible stuff that even if she did believe, I would, just like all of my Baptist friends that were afraid of dancing. Well, that was me. I wasn't allowed to go to dances. I wasn't allowed to hang out with boys, premarital sex, you're a slut. Even when I was raped at 16 years old, I was a virgin, and my mom called me a slut. Yeah, and I'm forever ruined. And then having a baby out of wedlock, I was disowned, and yeah.
Okay.
So yes and no. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Damnation, but not the good aspects of religion, community and we got your back type thing. It was just, you suck, I'm going to judge you, and, I know these places we are sending you where they're burning live people and locking you in cages naked. Of course that's wrong, but you have to go along with it anyways, dumb little slave.
Yeah, fear-based mind control. I mean,
yes.
The whole thing is fear-based mind control. So, did you always question that, or was there a point in your life where you were you always questioned it?
Always. Dude, I was literally locked in cages, locked in closets, because they didn't know how to contain me. I knew, I'll tell you what, the best description that is tangible for normal people that I can come up with is have you seen the movie Devil's Advocate?
Yes.
Okay. So I saw that movie years ago, and it displayed exactly what I was trying to tell my mom and everyone around me, and why I kept running away from all these elitists that were giving me this perfect life, right? Ha! Yeah. Okay, so the chick, and when she's looking at all of these big, special, pretty, shiny people and she sees demons, that's how I see people, and always have from the time I was born. I don't see the shine, I see their soul. and I knew I was amongst all these monsters. I knew everything felt wrong, but I didn't know what right was. I was brought up in that. I was at frickin' Bohemian Grove, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Right. Now,
So I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know what right was.
so for anybody who may be listening to this later, okay, I'm going to ask you a question, and when you answer it, 90% of the people will shut off what you're saying or label you and me as lunatics. When you say that you saw demons, do you mean literally?
Oh, well, yes and no. Okay, so most people, when they meet you on the street, people in the Matrix, they're going to look at your shoes or your hat or your dress or maybe even notice the color of your eyes or the color of your clothes or the color of your hair. I don't see that. I see the soul, the entity, the person behind it. That's why I knew I could talk to you and Chuck, because I felt your voice at Danny's house. I didn't have to say, who's this guy? Can I trust him? I already knew because of the vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I see. So when I use the word demons, and this is not to say they're not real, and this is not to say, anything really, what I'm saying is that there are pure spirits and there are not pure spirits, and I have this horrible gift at being able to see through all of it. So I always got in trouble, and up until my whole life been running away from it. I really didn't even actually have the names for what I was running away from, because I gotta tell you something, and I don't know, I don't listen to other people who have been brought up the way I have, and that's only because I want to make sure my memories are my own, right, and not mixed with anybody else's stories. But when you're brought up in the Illuminati, let me tell you what, you don't ever hear that word. That word does not exist, okay? Yes, you're better than everybody else, and yes, you have, you're a princess, you have the red car, you have every single thing at your disposal, and are programmed and groomed in a way. But all of these words that are and obviously they're real words and they are true, but we're never told those words, and I think that's purposefully, because when you grow up as a child and you never hear that word, then you don't know what to look for. And if you do hear that word, then you're just like, yeah, whatever, conspiracy theorist. Right. So it's really crazy. I'll tell you what, one time, somebody I had met about 15 years ago said, you really should read this book. I think it was called 13... Bloodlines of the Illuminati or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I'm like, well, why? Whatever. Anyways, one day I Googled it and
are you talking about Fritz Springmeyer's, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I ended up with a PDF copy, and I read, oh my God, I don't even know if I went through to the 3rd page. That's when I realized, oh my God, that is me. Mm-hmm. Holy shit.
So you're aware of Monarch programming and MK Ultra, obviously.
Yes, I was part of projects myself. I can't tell you. I know for a fact one of them was called Stargate. I can't tell you what the other ones were. I'm just assuming talent, but somebody else told me a different name, but I can't deny because I have no conscious memories of it.
Right. So
I have memories of being there and in the places and all sorts of memories, but nobody said, hi, sweetheart, here's the syllabus of what you're doing, and here's the name of all of these, things we're doing against your grandparents' will, and, they're not exactly forthcoming, and I was a child, and they drug you.
Oh, yeah. So you were clearly traumatized before 6.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when my mom would take me to the base, and we would have to do whatever, or when she would pick me up and stuff, most of the time I would wake up the next morning in my bed at home. But a couple times, I guess I didn't have enough drugs or something, that I would wake up like as they're putting me in the car or while I'm in the car. And then I would just pretend I was sleeping and still make them carry me into the house because, I wanted to listen to them and figure out what just happened, where I was or what was going on. And throughout that time, by the way, this was junior high school years. These particular incidences I'm talking about, there were elementary school, junior high, and beyond, but these particular ones, during that time, I told you I was always in and out of the hospital my whole life. I had like fainting and seizure episodes pretty bad, so I guess being caught up in the health issues that, the other stuff, the questions, Mom, what did they do with me this time?
Well, let me ask you a question real quick.
Seat.
Let me ask you what is your, and every, you ask 100 people, you get 100 answers, but what is your definition or your understanding of what and who the Illuminati is, and what are they trying to achieve? What is your perception of the Illuminati?
Well, see, that's a really good multifaceted question. So, I mean, really anybody who, my feeble, uneducated perception, on the word Illuminati, anybody, or illuminated, anybody trying to awaken or has awakened, at least on some level. Nobody's fully awake, so y'all with your ego problems thinking you had this awakening and it's over, you're in for it. But I think you're illumined. I myself am too. Are we part of a secret gang that has this agenda? No, but I've also come to look at it this way. What if they are our greatest teachers? What if we are all, say, in an earth school or in an initiation or what have you, based on whatever your beliefs are, and they're actually for our benefit? I mean, every religion, including the New Age and other death cults, believe and preach that everything that happens is for your greater good, and, God or universal consciousness, or insert whatever word you want to use there, is for our benefit. And when I look back on my life, I kind of really love who I am, and I could only have become who I am through those experiences. Were they fun and beautiful? No. Were they necessary for me on my path? Yes. Is there a secret cabal planning horrible and acting out horrible shit? Absolutely. Does it control us? Absolutely not. And when we realize that, when we take responsibility for ourselves and realize our own true divinity, then we can step outside of the slave system, the slave master system, right? And bowing down to these people. Once we lose our fear of death, once we realize who we are innately, then that doesn't affect us. And this is not to say, look, again, I've been affected by, I've been framed, I've had law enforcement at my door, this and that. Okay, when shit like that happens, deal with it. But that doesn't mean you live in fear. That which I have feared has come upon me. That doesn't mean that, you miss out on life because you're afraid of what might happen if you say this, or if you go there, or if you hang out with this person, or if you follow your heart, or if you miss your frickin' phone bill a couple months, We miss out on life because of our fear of the Illuma-fucking-Nati.
Yeah.
Like, come on! So...
Well, okay. So me and you are on the same page. When it comes to the word and the term and the idea of the Illuminati, we take it past physical old guys in a room, a smoke-filled room. It goes way into the metaphysical. Yeah, and I think the best kind of retort to the Illuminati that I've ever seen was, I think, Hip Hop News on YouTube or something. It's like a sketch comedy thing. And they have a rapper get up there, and his name is Bill D. Berg, and
Uh-huh.
he goes through the whole, population control and GMO foods and chemtrails and HARP, and he goes through the litany, and then he basically raps at the end of it, and he says, "Don't you understand? In all these things you have free choice. So if you want to know who the Illuminati is, go look in a mirror. It's you. Every time you support something that is so terrifying,
Yes.
like genetically modified foods, and I'm guilty of it too.
That's the solution, though, when it's so easy. Like,
Yeah.
I screaming it for years, and when I started Project Love Your Neighbor, and, the videos out there and explaining, look, you're not going to ask a beast to cut off his own arm.
Right.
You vote with your dollars, period. And, I have utmost gratitude for all of the crap going on in the world, the poisoned food, the poisoned water, all of that. And the reason why is because now I know how to do all of that for myself.
Right.
And everyone else sitting around screaming, yelling, posting on Facebook, they're asking somebody else to do it for them.
Yeah.
Go feed yourself. That's the solution. Take care of yourself. It all boils down to self-responsibility. Your body is the temple, right?
Right.
Treat it as such.
And one thing that I come across a lot of people think, when I talk about veganism or pescatarianism and things like that I guess they assume that I personally have reached a 100% at practicing these things, but I'm a human being too. Every now and then I like a soda. That's the flesh in me.
And it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not abusing it.
You're here to experience, right? If I lived that, like the whole vegan, the raw food, afraid of everything, and, I was growing my own food, but, I want other people to feed me sometimes too, and like I'd go to a store and walk around the aisles for hours and just couldn't find anything I could eat. And, I probably was borderline, paranoid. And then I realized with all that fear, right, taking in that energy, eating it, chewing it with my food or drinking it with my beverage, that was more unhealthy than actually drinking a freaking soda if I actually wanted one.
Right. Well, and I believe in transmutation too. It's the energy that you put into whatever it is you're taking in your body.
Yeah.
I'm just saying everything in moderation, I guess. I don't know,
I agree. I've learned. I went from one extreme to the other, and I found I found the balance. And I'm not vegan anymore. I will never be vegan anymore. I prefer mostly vegan, but I hate that label. I've done videos about that. Why? Why I'm not vegan anymore, and to kill or not to kill. And but I mean, the truth is, we're killing with our hands or with our dollars. And you know what, plants are people too, okay? So don't act like, getting your fucking shit shipped from South America to Finland year round. You think that farmer is not killing animals so that you can get your apples in June? Or,
right.
You just don't think that all the roadkill on the way, all the oil and all these other things you complain about, how much does it take to get you an apple from South America to Finland or Canada or Minnesota? Think of that. So when you're voting, you're killing, right? You're promoting murder. You're promoting, all of this stuff. So veganism and vegan Nazis and those people going around trying to guilt everybody, they are just as part of the machine as anyone else. And there are a few people that, look, healthy eating is environmental, period. God grows shit when he, she, it does for a reason. And where he, she, it does for a reason. So eating watermelon and grapes all winter long in Finland, it just is not healthy at all to begin with.
Right. It's crazy, but it's like even in the area where people are ascending or evolving, you know what I mean? Because I believe that's happening. I mean, the fact that you and me are talking is proof that that's happening. You know,
Yeah.
we know people in our everyday lives who operate on the outskirts of normal consciousness, so to speak. You know, we're the crazy ones, right?
Yes.
We hear shit and see shit, and you know, people think we're, you know, derelicts and homeless and schizophrenics and shit like that. But we're you know, but we're the ones in the know. You know what I mean? And it's just been my opinion that there are two sides to the Illuminati. You know, there's the yin and the yang of the Illuminati. There's
Yes.
one aspect that is here to offer resistance, kind of like Kali.
Yes.
And then there's what I guess people would call light workers, or you know, the saints, or whatever you want to call the ones who are more for bringing about positivity. But it's an ebb and a flow, you know. So, you
Let me
know,
ask you, what do you think about language?
in what context?
Well, um, okay, I'll make a statement and see how you feel about that. I believe that the written and spoken language is a step down in evolution. I believe that words have been made the way they are intentionally to deceive. And I believe that in the context of any type of religion or belief system that gives you mantras, so to speak, and we're repeating these words that we are bringing in, well, spelling, they don't call it for spelling for no reason. We are casting spells with what we say, and our hands are our wands, and our emotion is the magic behind it to make it happen. And I feel that you mentioned light workers and things like that. I have seen certain words, buzzwords that they use, and that acts as a mask for what's really going on while conjuring or operating under the influence of something much darker. Yeah. What do you think of that?
All right, I'll tell you a story.
Right. Okay.
I had an uncle, and he was a 33rd degree Freemason. Okay, and he was very serious about his vow of silence. As far as I was concerned, he never outright said anything about the lodge, right? And you know, my dad, he was an electrician, retired military, and all that, but he never went into the lodge or any type of esoteric. You wouldn't think anyway. But me and my uncle were never very close until this one instant where my grandfather was dying, and we lived in South Carolina, a little bitty town, and my brother was working in the town next over. And they needed somebody to navigate my uncle to go pick up my brother and everything, right? So it was a long ride from the little town I was in to go pick my brother up. So the silence got a little awkward, me riding with my uncle, right? And I'm a little kid. I'm in elementary school. Finally, he says, "Son, let me ask you a question." I said, "What's that?" He said, "What are they telling you in school is the most important subject for you to be learning?" And I said, "Well, they're telling me math." And he was silent for a second. He said, "They're wrong." I said, "They're wrong? What do you mean?" He says, "That's not the most important topic or subject that you could be learning." I said, "Well, what is it, Uncle Don?" He said, it's literature, the ability to read and to write." He says, "Words are the most important thing, son." And I said, "Well, how do you figure, Uncle Don?" And he was a painter by trade. You know, he says, "Well, I'm a painter, and don't quote me on these figures because I'm bad with math, but I'm just going to spitball some prices at you, all right, Christy?" So, might totally be fucking left field from the painting industry. I don't know. But anyway, so he said, "You know, I'm a painter by trade, son." I said, "Uh-huh." He said, "I got competition out there." I said, "Yeah." He says, "One of my competitors put an ad out in the paper last week that said, we'll paint your house for $500, right?" And I said, "Uh-huh." He said, "Well, I come along the next week and I run an ad that says, we'll strip your house, we'll clean your house, we'll prime your house, we'll coat your house, we'll put second coat on your house, and, you know, then we'll clean up the work area. $2,000. He says, you know, I'll get 3 times as much business as that first fella." I said, "Yeah, I imagine so if you're going to do all that." And he said, "You know what my ad really said?" I said, "What's that, Uncle Don?" He said, "We'll paint your house." Right? You see? And he, right then and there, and I already knew I wanted to be a writer from birth. But right there, he taught me a secret that, you could do a lot of stuff with words. You can cause a lot of damage with your words, and you
Yep, the
can you
tongue
can
is mightier than the sword.
that's right, and you can lift up nations with your words.
Yes.
You know, but he taught me that about language. Now, so that's one thing that I would have to say about language. Another
The
thing that
sword of truth. I mean, the word words, just move the S to the beginning.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, yeah, the tongue is mightier than the sword. You tell people, most people, oh, sticks and stones will break my bones beneath, they say that. Or I'm rubber, your glue bounces off me. Or, oh, it's just words. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, fuck that.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
So, for example, okay, let's take some of my injuries. All right, well, all that shit's healed, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at the damage of the stalkers. Like, they used words, right, to completely demonize me, turn me into a pedophile, a child abuser, a racist, and everyone believed those words. I was no longer allowed to feed myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because of words. That's just one example is how the tongue is mightier than the sword.
Right. And I mean, like whenever I'm having interfaith interactions, I'm very mindful of my words, because ultimately all disagreements are misunderstandings of semantics.
Really?
I
True.
mean, if because like, for example, okay, and I this is a public thing, so I don't really care. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Okay, I'm not an alcoholic, not recovering. I'm recovered. And I know some people are, you shouldn't call yourself that. Look, I get what that does to my consciousness, and I like it. Okay. I like having overcome that hill, so I'm going to fucking say it. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Like, I'm just as proud of that as my mom is proud of saying I'm a cancer survivor. Same thing, right? In my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, I go to a 12-step program at a Baptist church, right? However, I have to, I don't kowtow to man, so I dress the way I dress, and I happen to wear, like the Om symbol around my neck. Or, any given day it could be a different symbol, you know what I mean? And I'm not shoving it in people's faces, but I'm not gonna put on a sheep's clothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, when somebody who's at this Baptist church gets dogmatic with me and aggressive and says, what does that symbol mean? Instead of explaining, oh, that's your crown chakra, it represents such and such, I just look at them and I go, oh, it's Sanskrit for Jesus. And cut through all the bullshit. We ain't got to go to war, and
exactly.
And I don't have to take.
That's great.
I don't have to take 10 hours explaining to you that Krishna and Christ and the crown are the same fucking thing. Okay. So it's Jesus. Okay. But that's just me. So I think words. I don't think they're a bad thing, but I do think that what you were I think trying to get was, it is a lower form of communication.
Because we stepped away from the language of the heart.
Right.
And look at this, Daniel. Every single other life on the planet, including rocks, uses the language of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
All animals, all plants, all trees, all moths, all these things we think we're better than. Birds, bees, bears. We're the only ones that have lost our ability for real communication and real connection.
Yeah,
Why is that?
That's a good, and I don't think we lost it. I just think that we numbed it, and we numbed it for a long time. Because I personally, I don't know if you've ever, I don't even know how to I use a lot of movie and comic book analogies, because I feel like if Jesus was alive today, he would do that. He would use modern day parables. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm just, what would Jesus do? He would reference a fucking movie. That's what he would do.
Which one? Total Recall?
Yeah. Well, at any given moment, wait, shit, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
What movie would Jesus tell us to watch right now?
Probably The Big Lebowski.
Happy Gilmore.
But so but that's my take on interreligious misunderstandings. Is it's semantics, it's words. But I personally have had psychic connections with people, and it is beyond anything that, I mean, words are like sticks and stones in technology compared to what you're able to do once you, I don't know, activate your pineal gland, tap into your sixth sense. I'm not quite sure how to explain it so everybody's happy. But when you are able to connect with another human being on a psychic or different wavelength, it puts the spoken language to shame. You know? It really, really does. But call me crazy. But back when I was,
we all have it. It's just, it's so funny that we demonize who we actually are, and people who don't know who they are, will totally burn me at the stake or burn you at the stake for even talking this way, right? It's like a Logan's Run.
Yeah.
How could you ever think something like this?
Right.
My one girlfriend, she posted, reposted an article I posted that had to do with sex trafficking in San Diego. Well, I just happened to expose a sex trafficking ring run by the cops. It's all on video, blah, 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 right? And all these people are going after her like, oh, you're such an idiot. How could you believe this? And freaking out on her. And of course I showed up and posted my own videos I shot myself of cops refusing to ask and the little girls being brought in there into the private rooms with the men and the condoms, all of this stuff. And they're still like in such denial, and anyone who would even, it's just crazy that, to me, people would rather fight and deny than find out they may have been lied to.
Yeah. Well, ignorance is bliss, for a lot of people.
I did not know what that meant until I was no longer ignorant.
Right. Yeah. But no, to the back to the language thing, back when I was really entrenched in activist groups and going to rallies and things like that, I had a buddy, or he's still my friend. We just took different paths, but he was getting into the prepper movement. You know what I mean? Storable foods and fucking guns, and you know what I mean? And I'm like Bill Hicks on that shit. Yeah, get a gun for self-defense. But when you're posting
yourself,
but when you're posting selfies like it's with your gun, like it's a porno, man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of here. So we're gonna overthrow the government. No, you're not. You're not. You're really not gonna do that.
I'm posting a name here. And if you've heard of him, he's in Georgia. I don't know exactly where you live, but is he near you? Because he does exactly that.
Oh, really? I'll look him up in a little bit. Nah. Never
oh, okay. If you don't know the name, don't worry about it. But that's exactly what it is. But see, here's the thing. People look at that, like you were saying, there's too much infighting in the movement and this and that. Let me explain what's really going on. And this guy... and what you just brought up is a perfect example. So I'm sure you know that people do get paid by our federal government to commit crimes and create movements that bring out the crazies.
Oh, sure.
And they bring out the crazies, or they lure them into doing, even good people, into doing crazy things by using crazy people doing that. The selfies with the guns, let's overthrow, I'm on Russia Today, I'm threatening the federal government, blah, blah, blah. These people are getting paid with your tax dollars, and that's why they never get busted for those things. But everyone around them, every single movement they touch is completely destroyed. Like the real founder of March for America, I know her personally, but she had to disappear. Why? Stalking, and now all these other people have it. The real freedom fighter movement hijacked, the real American resistance movement hijacked, the real every group that has ever been created. And so this infighting isn't actually infighting. It's not regular people having a disagreement. These are operatives put in every single group in order to cause havoc, separate, divide, and create conflict or make it look crazy and keep people away. Yeah, it's orchestrated. It's not just random people fighting. And so they're never, ever going to get along. There is no solution, and there's only a few voices you're allowed to hear. And the alternative media is not alternative anymore. They're run and financed by the exact same people that they're talking shit about.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, now I'm not going to say the guy's name because this is probably going to, go out. But I punched his name into Facebook, and I'm looking at his feed. Oh, God.
Yeah, he was my first, or one of
God.
coming after me. Yeah, he would call CPS from Georgia. I'm living in San Diego, and then Missouri. Every time he found out where I was, call CPS, make all these crazy reports, write all these blogs, send to, say I'm kidnapping people with dude, I'm in a wheelchair. He would not even leave me alone in a wheelchair.
Yep. I've had to deal with him too.
A single mother. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy, he looks like a douche. God, guns, and I hate Islam. When I look at my Ruger right here on my hip, and I got some extra clips over here on my other hip, and I got a ski mask on my head. I got a T-shirt that I actually went to Vistaprint and had them put "God hates Islam" on it. And now I'm gonna record this video while I get my AR-15 sighted in. Come on.
He literally is on international news holding up guns, threatening the federal government. They burned Obama effigies. He was the one that vandalized the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah, of those things.
That was him?
Yep. And he even put a video of himself and speaking about how great and patriotic he is and trying to lure other people to... Nobody followed him in that. But Obama effigies, all of that stuff. Anyone else gets arrested, why not him?
Oh, Jesus Christ. What is this guy? Is he like a radio guy, or what the hell is this guy?
He used to work for the DIA, and he does podcasts. He's been kicked off every, actual network. But talk show and, stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I still want to believe there's hope for humanity, but then I find shit like this.
That's okay.
All right,
so here's the litmus test. When you are listening to some of these people, some of it's feel good, and, but a lot of it is just trying to intellectualize the universe, the heart, emotions. Here's the litmus test. When you're done listening to these people, do you feel better about yourself? Are you motivated to action? Did you learn something new that you can implement into your life right there without sending them your money? Or do you have a headache? Do you feel a little heavy? Maybe you're, tied up in knots in your gut thinking, oh my God, I'm so powerless. They're going to get us. And, oh, I can't do anything. I need to stay and read more of your articles and not live my life because, I'm going to replace life with the words, the sword of this actor telling me what's good for me and how to live my life when I guarantee you these people aren't living it. How do I know? Again, I was there. These people, most of the people talking no GMO or this and that, they're freaking drinking soda and ordering pizza. They don't even know how to fry an egg, and that is not a joke.
Right.
No garden, nothing. But they're selling you shit. They're selling you seeds. They're selling you survival gear. Here's the thing. If these people were trying to help you, they tell you how to plant the seeds and how to grow the shit. Don't stick it in a fucking vault in the ground. If the end of the world happens, what is that going to do? You think it's automatically going to poof, turn into food?
Yeah.
If they wanted you well, they would teach you how to heal yourself. They would teach you how to make your own medicine. They would teach you how to track and trap and grow your food and companion. They would give you the gift of self-responsibility, not give you the gift of, oh, look, I have this cool new product on my website.
Right.
Yeah, we have to eat, but name number 1, 2, 3 there, $19 million a year with ADL attorneys and... Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
19 million. Yeah, and you need more from your listeners?
Yeah, and that's what killed me about me getting into alternative media, when I started to see everybody trying to model that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, there's a monopoly, in that little sliver on the internet, and it ain't you, so.
Downloaded content podcast. Download content.